First of all, the game that I chose to analyze is Dead Dragon Cancer. I chose this game, or actually more of a playable experience, because I find the true story beautiful and what they are trying to communicate to a wider audience an inspirational goal. Because it is a playable experience and doesn't have that many mechanics and interactions, I focus more on the story and how that connects to their applied goal.
Fear is cancer's preservative, cancer's embalming oil. And you, O accuser, are fear's oil salesman. You're a snake, a serpent, a dragon with snuffed out coal on his breath, molting, and talons broken from the struggle to free yourself of your own skin.
Dead Dragon Cancer is, unquote, an immersive narrative video game that retells Joel Green's 4-year fight against cancer through about 2 hours of poetic, imaginative gameplay that explores faith, hope, and love, end quote. The game is made by Joel's loving parents and more collaborators on the amazing initiative. They wanted to tell how their family experienced the heartbreaking disease that Joel went through. Visualize the ups and downs during the treatment and how to make the player feel different perspectives on the matter is what I believe a wonderful way to represent their story. Players will experience what it's like to have faith, hope, and love. How to hold on to your beliefs and what it's like to lose someone you hold so dear. Not only to cancer, but also in general, how it feels to lose someone. The secondary idiolect in the game makes this very clear. They want the players to take the time when playing, going through multiple stories from third parties, and think and discuss these. Talking about difficult topics, like cancer. The audience that they are targeting is for people that would like games to tackle more serious subjects. People that lost someone by cancer, or people that are undergoing treatment right now. But it's also for the people that didn't lose anyone, even for the young people that want to become a parent someday. It's also for families. It's about a family. It's about faith, hope, and love. Even the dark shadow of that itself. The experience works very well, because it tackles a hard layer of reality. Everyone is connected by it. Death. It shows a series of moments of the Green family. Small moments, like Joel's mother playing with him in the hallway of the hospital. Or a major event where his parents are talking to the doctors and find out that Joel's cancer is terminal.
I guess I have imagined it.
With an ATRT,
I've
a
imagined it
seizure
a
never occurs of
lot,
any
but not
kind.
like this.
It is fatal.
It's different.
It's only a
I thought
matter
I
of
would
time
sob
before it spreads to
uncontrollably
several locations.
or puke just right on the floor.
We've already thrown all the
I
chemotherapy
thought I'd shake or
we have at
wail
him.
or something.
We can't continue to give him chemotherapy
guess
that we
this
know
is
he's resistant
shock.
to.
Tragedy, he said. That's right. That's the perfect word for this. It's a tragedy. I wonder if he says that every time. He's crying a little. I love him for that. He's not callous, he's genuinely sad. She is too.
So there just aren't any treatment options that are curative.
It works really well because of the mutual experience most people have and the metaphor and perspectives they put it into it. Furthermore, players can hear the raw emotions from Joel's parents that are often not told. This works too. The context of Dead Dragon Cancer is applied in a sense that they would preferably want players to take the time when going through the experience. That being said, I personally think that this is the place where players are most comfortable in. For example, at home, or at a friend's house, or anything where the game is best experienced, where you can take a seat and just let the story sink in.
No! Don't hit your head on the bars, Joel. Joel! I know you're mad. Please stop. Please. Stop. I shake. I weep. I pray. I plead. I need peace. I am empty. You are. I don't know all that you are.
It is known that the game is very impactful, very powerful. Sometimes players even have to go away for a bit before coming back. The game itself doesn't hold any challenges in the gameplay, but the story makes it sometimes hard to continue. Because of the emotion in the heartbreaking moments, the story that Amy Green wrote is personal, endearing, and most importantly, powerful. The kind of writing where you would place your head in your hands, shaking and cry.
He sleeps. Thank you.
I know similar games that are based on a serious topic or story, but there's something about Dead Dragon Cancer that no other game has. It's based on a true story, of course. Some games with serious topics tend to be showing less empathy for the characters and more about the choices the player makes, such as Don't Take This Risk. Therefore, Remission 2, which is also a game about cancer, is more applied for patients and focuses more on the treatment in a fun way. I'm not sure what works better. If we only took at the two games about cancer, Remission 2 works really well because the patients know what their treatment is going to be and what to expect in a fun way. Dead Dragon Cancer works also really well because they trigger discussions with the player's family or friends about a serious and difficult topic. They are both successful and, in my opinion, not comparable.
Size matters. If I know how big it is, I can
It's in the frontal
face it.
cortex.
I can size it up.
And it's quite small at this point, but unfortunately the size isn't terribly important. Any recurrence means the chemotherapy has failed. This is a tragedy.
I am using the game mechanic framework to look into the mechanics further. When I looked into the framework, I already knew that Dead Dragon Cancer didn't use a lot of mechanics, but they had an interesting way how they wanted the players to learn mechanics in the story in that matter. The most prevalent game mechanics are cutscenes, story, progression, movement, selecting, urgent optimism, realism, and feedback. I will go over them one by one. Cutscenes and story are used as a guidance to follow the story, discover the new things, and experience the emotion that they are representing in a way, and simultaneously also want you to remember or feel your own story. Camera movements, dialogue moving in the environment, using metaphors to visualize the moments, symbolism also. Different perspective when going through the experience are implemented. These implementations are used to experience gameplay mechanisms via an emotional story. The story is learned and it's taught through cutscenes. Game mechanics like progression, movement, and selecting have learning mechanics like simulating the experience for the player, actions and tasks to interact with the story. The progression is done by different sections, almost like chapters, and they guide the player to the next moment. Movement is in a 3D environment, sometimes fly through with no steps, and sometimes point and click navigation. This is used for immersion. Selecting, therefore, is mostly for clicking or to trigger something, interacting with the story and mechanics, even though you sometimes do nothing and observe what is happening in a moment. They sometimes even use urgent optimism to give the player the motivation to act immediately and tackle the obstacle that Joel is dealing with. The hope they implemented makes it this even stronger in the story. Learning to reflect and discuss is what they want to teach the player.
His super jumping ability was being chased by a dragon named Cancer.
And he's not the only one who's ever tried to fight this dragon. Some very brave knights have fought this dragon and lost. And some are able to drive the dragon off, and they can go home and they can keep fighting for a while. And the kingdom is safe.
Joel's been fighting this dragon for a long time. It's the best part of the story. God fights for Joel. So he fights that dragon Cancer right with Joel. And we know that God can win even if Joel can't. That's grace.
Feeling, analyzing is learned through realism. They implemented different perspectives, sometimes through the eyes of Joel's parents, sometimes in the eyes of the doctor, but also as a mere bystander, with a bird view. A view on all the events. It is a true based story, and it shows not only the ups but also the downsides. The player learns to feel and analyze how this disease can make you feel powerless and scared, but also hopeful and loving. The feedback in the game is also a learning mechanic that goes from chapter to chapter, with environmental storytelling and communicates where to go next. Message reinforcement is used with level design to make the experience even more impactful. All these mechanics are used to make the story experience a beautiful narrative, where I believe that it will have an impact on many more players. Although I hope it gets an even bigger audience, because it's made by a rather small studio and that they need much more support with the work that they are doing or have done.
And so we sit here in this new silence and long for the music to start again and for the disc to spin again, even if it means going round and round for many more years. For at least we would be moving and Joel would be laughing here on Earth, and not only in heaven. But in this space, I sense his silence is only because he is drawing his breath. And now we know love and longing, empty and full, all in one moment. And I am grateful that we loved him well, and that we miss him well. And I hope that in the Lord's next breath, he will whisper his love song to you, his beloved, and that you will know him differently and more deeply. But now, we grieve in silence, yet not without his presence.